I knew you needed to see this. Matthew 18 verses 21 through 35. Peter comes to Jesus and says, how many times do I have to forgive my brother? Up to 7 times? Jesus says, no, 70 times 7, which really represents an infinity. Jesus isn't saying that there's a specific amount of time. This was an idiom or a saying. Numbers represent eternal or perfect. Jesus is saying to demonstrate and give limitless forgiveness. He goes on to tell a parable of a servant that owed this huge debt to the king. He wasn't able to pay it. The master commanded that him and his wife and his kids be sold to make the payment. The servant begged him and said, please have patience with me. So the master, the king, had compassion on him and forgave his entire debt. This servant leaves and goes out and finds one of his fellow servants who owed him a very tiny debt compared to what he owed the master. And it says that he laid hands on him and he choked him and he said, you owe me. And his fellow servant fell down and said, please have patience with me. I'll pay you back. But he wouldn't have any patience with him and he had him thrown into prison, and that he was to stay in prison until he paid off the full debt. So a few of the other servants heard about this, came to the master and they told him about it, and he was angry. And so he brought that servant that he had forgiven before him, and he said, why did you do this? I forgave you of your huge debt. Shouldn't you have demonstrated the same compassion towards your fellow servant? So he delivered him to the torturers until he could pay back all that he owed. Jesus goes on to say, and so my heavenly Father will do to you if you from your heart do not forgive your brother. It might sound like Jesus is saying that if you don't forgive, that you won't be forgiven. We have to remember who he's talking to. He is speaking to Jews that are still under the law. They have not received the grace of God that comes through the cross. He's relating to them under the law. Under the law, your works determined your right standing with God, what you did or didn't do. Now, under the new covenant, under grace, we forgive because we've been forgiven, not to be forgiven. Jesus is also saying that unforgiveness will destroy you. It's not God that will cause the harm. When you stay in unforgiveness, you legally give the enemy right. You allow the torturer to come in and have his way. This is why they've even linked health issues to unforgiveness, to anxiety, to stress, to fear. These negative emotions, if you allow them to stay, they will torture and destroy you from the inside out. Forgiveness is not just for others, but it's also for you to go free. When you live in unforgiveness, thinking that it will harm that person, it's like drinking poison thinking that it will hurt the other person. It will do more damage to you than anyone else.